I welcome you all in APG Pathshala. Myself is Chandrasekhar Barua, Assistant Professor working in Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management, Gwalior. And today's topic is communication on contents, that is communication on tourism, which contains the medium of communication on tour guiding, classification, communication on measurements of communication, keywords, summary, references, recommended books, introduction, communication on means to share the world. Communication is derived from the Latin word communicate. As per Shannon, there are many steps in communication. On major ones are the framing of open inspiration, that is motivation, message creation and synthesis, pre-composition, message encoding, for instance, modernized data, met substance, talk pictures and so forth. Transmission of the encoded data or message as a progression of sign using a specific channel or medium. Noise sources, for instance, trademarks, qualities, and now and again human development, that is both considered and unplanned, begin influencing the idea of sign spreading from the sender to no less than one beneficiaries. Reception of sign and reassembling of the encoded message from a gathering of received signals. Decoding of reassembled encoded data or message. Interpretation and understanding the original message, that is Shannon, a mathematical theory of communication on maths. Harvard Education recovered 2017 on 12th May 2017. Communication. The word communication is defined as integration of activities, generation of signals, transfer of signals from one place to another, or sending signals, receiving signals, understanding a meaning of signals. Communication on for a tour guide is like spinal cord in human body. Tour guide cannot survive without good communication on. Guide is the person who communicates hidden story behind a place, monument, market and handicraft to the tourist. Communication on word is derived from the word communicate. It means to share. Communicare is a Latin word. Communicate on means to frame a message in your mind, to speak, and listener listen the message and interprets in the brain. So it is a process which passes on some information from speaker to listener. Communication is complete when speaker speaks what he wants and listeners understand the same message. We are incomplete without communication. Communication on is the backbone of tourism and travel industry. Without communication, we cannot think of any activity in tourism, right from the designing of a tour package to complete of tour. Communication on is involved in every step. A tour guide must have good idea about communication. He must also have good command for better communication. Tour guide must practices verbal and non-verbal communication. He must understand gesture, tone, lingual, posture, verbal, formal and informal communication. Communication must be given weightage during training of a tour guide. Tour guide must also learn use of icons and their meaning. Tour guide must create a good content for the destinations they are visiting quite often on tour packages. They must practice meet and greet exercises with the tourists. They must know how to handle a big group using gestures, how to display confidence in front of tourists, how to handshake, how to gather and disperse people at the destination. And tour guide must also learn to write formal letters, emails, small messages, texting over electronic media. He must also learn English and other major languages they are concerned with. If your company is dealing with the French groups, you must also learn French and non-verbal communications of people of that country. A good handwriting used to improve communication on between travel company and tour guide. Communication can be improved by rehearing regularly. Now, the medium of communication, medium means channel or system of communication between sender and receiver. It is the mean by which information is transmitted from speaker, that is tour guide, to the listener, that is a tourist. It can be divided into two classes, physical media and mechanical medium. Physical medium, it means channels where the person speaking can be seen or heard by the group, members or tourists. Here, tourists not only hear the message, he can see or feel body language also and feel the climate of tourist place, monuments, site. In majority of situations, tourists expect physical communication with the tour guide. Mechanical medium in this type of communication, medium is mechanical, it means written or electronic channels. Examples of mechanical mediums are emails, letters, newsletters, travel brochures, billboard, internet, SMS, social media, for example, that is Facebook, WhatsApp, etc. Communication in tour guiding. A tour guide job is based on communication only. Communication is a process which requires a huge collection of abilities in relation, handling, tuning, in watching, talking, addressing, investigating, motions, and assessing empowers joint effort and cooperation. Communication is the backbone of any activity in tourism and travel trade. Without communication, we cannot complete the task. Communication synergizes speed of any activity. A tour guide must have good verbal and non-verbal communication. Verbal communication helps in commentary making, and non-verbal communication is useful for communication with the travel agency. Communication also deals with era of sign, exchange of sign, cultivate one place to another, or sending signals, getting signals, understanding significance of sign. A tour guide must know meaning of symbols, icons found at many places. A tour guide is the individual who imparts story behind, that is related to a place, landmark, markets and handcrafts to the tourists, visitors. The word communication is related to the word impart. It intends to share. Classification of communication. There are many channels of communication. Channel means medium. These channels are verbal, non-verbal. What is verbal communication? Verbal communication means message conveyed through voice from sender to receiver. It depends on voice, pitch, rhythm, volume and way of speaking. Most of the messages, information is conveyed verbally in travel agencies, hotels, monuments, railway stations, airports. For example, you must be familiar with railway station announcement system or announce at airport. If information is clearly audible and understood by the passenger, there are chances that passengers will not be able to catch the train or flight. Think about natural calamities, tsunami, earthquake, SARS. Message is passed on and action is expected at the same time. One wrong message or miscommunication may create chaos at the tourism destination. Non-verbal communication. Travel agents collect information from tourists about name, age, source of travel, destination of travel, etc. If there is any mistake at the part of travel agent, there will be a penalty on him. One tour group boarded on the train, and after boarding tour guide found that ticket is booked for next day. As non-verbal communication is in writing, it is more important and authentic. One-way communication. A message is passed one from sender to receiver is one-way communication. One-way communication is used when authorities pass on message to a group of people. You must be familiar with travel channels in TV. These channels are one-way communication. Email is one-way communication. Receiver has to think and respond in one-way communication. Two-way communication. If there is a message from one side and simultaneous receiver is also responding, it is two-way communication. Communication through telephone, mobile is two-way communication. Receiver has to respond immediately in two-way communication. Message is acknowledged in two-way communication. TWP may communication is fast, reliable, non-verbal communication. Verbal means speaking. Communication in which we communicate without speaking is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is very important for day-to-day life. It has immense less significance in tourism and travel industry. For example, folding hands to welcome the tourist in place of saying namaste is non-verbal communication. It includes eye-to-eye contact, handshake, winking, etc. Speech, verbal communication also contains non-verbal segments known as para-language. Example, musicality, emphasis, beat, and stress. It impacts communication most at the instinctive level and develops trust in like way formed works fuse non-verbal segments, for instance handwriting, style, spatial strategy of words and the use of emotions to pass on feelings. Non-verbal communication on delineates the system of passing on a sort of information as non-semantic depictions. Instance of non-verbal communication on consolidated haptic communication. Chromatic communication signals non-verbal communication, outward appearances, eye-to-eye connection, and how one dresses. Tourists coming from faraway places cannot understand spoken words. If there is different language and that language speaking guide is not available, so here non-verbal communication is more powerful. Non-verbal communication furthermore relates to objective of a message. There are many reasons to justify that why non-verbal communication expects a vital part in communication. Non-verbal communication is present everywhere. They are fused into every single communication show to have indicate communication. All non-verbal channels, for example, the body, go up against, voice, appearance, touch, partition, timing, and other environment, all forces must be secured in the midst of the eye-to-eye affiliation. Created communication can similarly have non-verbal qualities. Messages and web visits empower individuals. The contrasting option to change content, literally style, shades, stationery, emotions, and capitalization with a particular ultimate objective to get non-verbal prompts into a verbal medium. Non-verbal communication is multifunctional. Many particular non-verbal diverts are secured. Meanwhile, in communication, act and empower the likelihood for synchronous messages to be sent and got. Non-verbal communication on many outline a broad vernacular structure: smiling, crying, coordinating, stroking, and glaring are non-verbal practices that are used and grasped by the tourists, travelers, maybe any individual paying little regard to nationality. Non-verbal signs allow the most major kind of communication. When verbal communication is not effective in view of vernacular obstructions, posture and movement of a person tells, implicates number of things. It is a kind of informal communication. Your movement defines your confidence level. You must also know personal distances to be kept, keeping in mind cross-cultural issues. Tour guides, body language, and posture provides important information to supplement words. Facial expressions. Being a tour guide, we must welcome our guest with namaste and smile. If tourists do not understand the meaning of namaste, but he can understand by your smiling face that you are welcoming him. Facial expressions are very important in tourism industry. Tourists understand your feeling through your facial expressions. Our face is very expressive. It can communicate countless emotions without speaking or saying a single word. Facial expressions for happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, fear, disgust, etc. are almost same in every culture. It is valuable for a tour guide to use appropriate facial expression. Emotions are used in social media in place of facial expressions in real-time situation. Gestures. Gesture implicate your focus area and what you wish to point out. Gesture is a form of non-verbal communication and non-vocal form of communication in which bodily action communicate message. It is used either in place of in conjunction with speech. Being a tour guide, you must know hand gestures and other body actions. Hand gestures make group members of tour group to listen you. You should know how to make your gestures purposeful. You must be careful and aware cross-culturally. Gestures are attention, directing, requesting information, reference, specifying, supporting, answering questions in yes or no. You can use hand gestures for listening. You are determined everything. Listen up, small, medium, and large. Let me tell you, just a part, me, growth, you, this and that come together. It's just go. I'm not hiding anything. You listen to me. Stop. We, verbal communication on. Verbal communication on is communication on through spoken words. Verbal communication is the talked or made transport out of a message. Verbal communication is the use of sound and words to express something. It is the opposite of expression through manners and or gestures. For example, saying namaste to tourist is a verbal communication. It can also be defined as sharing the information with the clients. Tourists using speech is a verbal communication through commentary. is a form of a verbal communication. Tourists easily understand spoken words, so verbal communication is very powerful, good or effective. Verbal communication depends on a number of factors. These factors are clarity of speech. If you are guiding at any tourism destination, your speech commentary must be clear. Otherwise, tourists will not understand what you are saying or what do you want to say or express. Pronounce every word clearly. As probability, tourist is from someone other place, state, region, country. Tourists might be having some other language, for example, Malayalam, French, Spanish, etc. Cool and calm. Remain cool and calm while speaking to the tourists. If you are cool and calm, you will be able to decide what to speak and what not to speak. You will be able to speak in better way. A cool and calm person can speak with patience and deliver the message properly. Focused, talk to the point. As you have limited time to interact with the tourist, be focused and should know what to speak. Speak to the point. If you are focused, you can give more examples related to tourism. Tourist place, traditions, rituals, festivals, monuments, people, political scenario, weather, geography, etc. A focused tour guide can easily satisfy tour group's members. Communication. Assessed on 30th of July 2006, 17 distinction. Diction is the style of speaking or choosing words. Diction makes a lot of difference in commentary, making of a good tour guide. The way you select words in your commentary and general speaking with the group member. Said the difference clear. Linguistic. Linguistic is the study of language and its form. It is about structure and use of psychology of language. Tone. Tone means vocal sound of a person with reference to the quality, strength, and pitch. Attitude of a place or writing. It gives strength of firmness to your voice. Volume. A tour guide must have habit to speak in the voice which can be heard by all group members. You can use cordless phone or collar mic if the tourist place is overcrowded. Rate. It is related to the speed by which you are speaking in front of the client or tourist. If rate is more, client will not be able to understand your words or sentences. If rate is too slow, you will take much time to cover the topic. Rate must be according to the tourist and their background of language. When you are reading through a site show in presentation, a rate is lower than normal. Normally, we speak about 125 words per minute. Rate of speech is very important while delivering commentary to the group. It is less in case of a group interaction and more in case of single or FIDs. We can also classify communication on the basis of direction from sender to receiver and receiver to sender. One-way communication, two-way communication. In tourism and hospitality industry, one must good in both verbal and non-verbal communication. It is a part of service industry. Product is in intangible form. So whatever you have committed in writing, that is important. Tour guiding, speaking in front of a group must be good in verbal communication. Measurement of communication. In tour guiding, individual must assess following variables to measure communication. Creation of content. Being a tour guide, you must plan has to create content for tour guiding. It means creating or drafting commentary, finalizing itinerary, program received from the travel company, checking the script for best communication. Checking and rechecking words are as per the adaptability of the tour group, as mostly groups are from other areas and there is difference in language and pronunciation. Content is the most powerful tool which derives a good commentary and results in the best feedback from the clients. Content must be to the point. You must focus on each and every word of the content to further refine it. Try to translate localized words if possible. Give more examples. Delivery of content. Second most important part in communication is delivery. Proper delivery can ensure that receiver is able to receive information derived by the tour guide. While delivering commentary, you must ensure that words are spoken properly and tone, volume and rate was all right while delivering content through commentary. Keep your volume of voice so that your voice should be audible to all group members. Consumption of content. Consumption of content means your communication is consumed or accepted by the listener, that is tourist. If he has understood your message properly, it means content is consumed. Nowadays, majority of people are multitasker, and if your commentary means content is consumed properly, that is your success. You may make your content of commentary easy to consume. Provide entertaining content. Ensure that your content is imaginable, as tourists must be able to think about the past. If you are narrating him history of monument, be focused and try to avoid dual content consumption at the end of the tourist. Being a tour guide, you must try to increase content engagement at the end of the tourist by enriching your content with selective words. Tourists expect content of their interest. As long as it satisfies, then they take interest in commentary and pay attention to the message. Otherwise, they roam around here and there. Management of content, it means creation, editing, making content available to other in the form of commentary or some other form of information, engagement and outcomes. We may develop understanding of how to reach our clients and what will be possible outcomes. Ultimately, this will lead to minimize the wastage and renew focus on the guiding work. If we talk three ways effectively communication value can be measured. Some keywords: content, management, tone, pitch, paraphrasing, questions. What is communication? Classify communication. Do you feel that communication is vital element of tour guiding? Tour guiding is basically a form of communication. Do you agree with the statement? Justify your answer. What is content creation? What is delivery of message? What do you understand by consumption of content? Thank you very much.